There we go.
Hi, Lindsay. Like it's like really fun music, right? To get you going.
I know, I was dancing right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for you guys to know, I do that every single time I jump on the Unlocked show. Like that funky music just gets me going. So anyway, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Unlocked show. I'm Tracy Wilson. I'm going to be your host for the next 30 minutes or so, and I am joined today by the amazing Lindsay Mustain. I want to tell you there's a couple of things we're going to do. We're going to talk today, and we're also going to have her back next week because her and I have had a bit of a chat about a topic that is dear to our heart and something that really needs to be spoken about. So we're going to cue it up today with kind of a lead in, a bit of background about Lindsay, how you can, what it means to be a recruiter gone rogue, what company she's worked for, what she's sort of seen in her corporate life, because we know that on the Unlock show, not only do we have entrepreneurs here who are taking the journey of entrepreneurship, we also have people that are in corporate careers or are in jobs. And it's really important that we, embrace both of those worlds and that we help people to do the best they possibly can, no matter what their journey is. So that's what it's all about today. I want to tell you a little bit more about Lindsay before I kind of kick it over to her and she can tell it, she can fill in some of the gaps. But Lindsay was formerly the most visible employee at Amazon. So she'll tell us about that huge company, obviously, and being the most visible person there. Wow. Secondly, she's an author. So she's written a number of different books, but one in particular, #AskLindsay. So go and check that out. And she's also a bit of a celebrity when it comes to LinkedIn. So again, go and have a look at what she's up to on LinkedIn because she's got millions of followers there that really listen intently to what Lindsay is talking about. And that's exactly why I wanted to make sure that she was here and on the Unlock show today to share all of her wisdom and for us to be able to unlock all of the knowledge, information that she's going to share with us. So welcome to the show, Lindsay. Great to have you.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. So that is incredible. I am so excited. Because first off, we don't ever, you are in the future because it's still Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
So I'm so excited to just be here and to get to chat with you. This is because you're a good friend of mine and I'm just excited to be here.
I know it seems like such a long time. Like, as you guys know that have been watching the show, you know that I had over the last couple of years been traveling back and forth to the United States, and that's how Lindsay and I became really good friends over there. And I really miss them so much. So I'm lucky enough that I can have, a lot of these guys who are really experts in their industries and their fields actually create this forum where I can have them on the show. And I'm also seeing in the panel over there, we've got Wendy Shankel and a number of other people joining us this morning. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the show.
Oh, how exciting. I mean, I love Wendy. Shout out to Wendy.
Yeah. So, hey, let's talk about the background that you've had. Tell us a little bit about where you've been, because obviously being a recruiter in the corporate world is somewhat different to what you are doing now. And the whole, going rogue, like what happened?
So I like this. The going rogue is just because I'm a natural rule breaker. And so my life has been, most of my adult life has been in corporate HR, in particular, the talent acquisition function, or recruiter is recruiting. Sometimes we call it sourcing or people, whatever you want to call it. It's the attraction of talent and the hiring and bringing them on board of really high potential candidates. That's what I specialized in. And I did it for a long time. I actually worked at a company at one point that was in Seattle that was bigger than Amazon. So that's how I actually began my career, was in corporate recruiting. And I continued to grow. And I actually ended up working at a company that had pretty much any big name in the Fortune 100, they actually were an insurance provider for. And so we'd have specialty contracts with each of these for specific jobs. And I ended up working with about 25 of Fortune 100 companies and helping staff and hire for them. And about that time, Amazon really wanted to, they courted me for a long time. And I was like, no, I'm not so sure about Amazon. Like, I don't want to cry at my desk or sleep there. Which I'm going to tell, like, no.
That's obviously the reputation they had.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I thought. And so I'm like, no, I don't want to. And then I decided about 4 years after that I would come and I would take a contract. I've never taken a contract for anything, but I thought I wanted a way to be able to get out. And I fell in love. I fell in love with Amazon. And I've always used LinkedIn. LinkedIn, like, I had LinkedIn before I had any other social media platform. So I just celebrated literally 15 years on that platform. Like, whoa. I have a teenager in LinkedIn experience. And so, like, one that's like almost ready to drive a car, kind of. So I've been around on it for a long time. So combining these two things actually kind of made me a recruiting powerhouse, where I had lots of followers and I had deep connections in the marketplace. And when I came on board, that's what I got to do. And it gave me a huge voice, because everybody wants to know, what's it like to work for Amazon? Everybody wants to know. And so all those things I thought beforehand, and yes, some of them are true. But I decided to answer that question. And it became this whole series of me talking about what it is like to work for Amazon, and how do you stop playing the job search game where candidates are trying to find a job. They go out and apply, they submit a resume, and then they never hear back. And it is, it's absolutely devastating for people that are out there, and especially today when they're job searching, to go and have spent all this effort, probably about 30 minutes, to send out a single application, and then to not hear anything back. And so I decided what I would do is just start to help people understand what's going wrong, what's behind the scenes, or how do they present themselves as the best candidate. And they didn't like it very much. They actually were pretty supportive in the beginning. They gave me a job that had never existed. And then they were like, well, now you can't be telling all of our secrets, which wasn't really anything about secrets. It was more like, here's how the best way to put your first impression. But they would come by and be like, you shouldn't say that. And I felt like completely censored. And then I decided to do it anyhow, because I really believe in trying to help people do as much as they possibly can. Like, that's really important to me. And so I ended up deciding to publish a book. I did ask for permission. I did not get permission. I went ahead and published it anyhow. This is where I say recruiter gone rogue, because I just wanted to help. And the funniest part is that it became an Amazon bestseller. And then when I realized that there was enough interest in this for me to actually take it and to change lives, not from the inside, but from the outside. And I left on a day where somebody came back and they said, this is how horrible you guys have treated me. And I just said, I literally responded and escalated it. And then I wrote my resignation notice and I sent it in. So that was my decision to literally leave and just head on into entrepreneurship. I had no plan, no investors, no anything, except for a dream that I could help and impact people's lives and help them find work that was meaningful, where they could love what they do.
And I absolutely love that. Like, I mean, the whole premise of, going rogue, and, we often think of that as being a bad thing, but, that we need to be people that are, let's call it going rogue, that are, not comfortable with the status quo, seeing that there needs to be a change somewhere, that our voices need to be heard, that, we need to create a platform for other people. And that's exactly what you did. And having the courage to be able to go, do you know what? This is the day that I make the decision that I'm going to change the world, but I'm not going to do it from the inside. I'm going to do it from the outside. Congratulations to you.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you. So I'll tell you one little funny story. You heard the song by Drake where it started at the bottom and now I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last day I was, I parked in the high-rise building and I parked at the very bottom. And then right before I left, I went from the bottom all the way to the very top floor. And then I left and I was like, started at the bottom, now I'm here.
Awesome.
So, but I walked away and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I had, at the time, a husband who was a stay-at-home dad. And I had really no idea what I would be able to do. But one thing people ask me all the time is, what is the best career advice you can give? And I said, I stopped asking for permission.
Uh-huh.
And this is where people will be like, oh, no. But I'm going to tell you that the first thing you need to realize is that your whole life you've been trained to be an employee. You've been trained and programmed to go into work, to work for somebody else's business, to make somebody else more money. That's how it's been, right? That's exactly how all of us are. And that when you start to realize that you can innovate and you can do things inside, that's when this idea of like disruption, this idea actually happens in an individual person. Like they have ideas and things that bring up, and I'm going to tell you, like, this happens a lot. I think we're going to be talking about it next week. It happens a lot with marginalized voices, people who don't look like, and I'm just going to paint with a wide brush here, old white guys. You know, they're not, which is pretty much every board in America. And any executive leadership team is typically, that's exactly what they look like. And there's usually somebody to be diverse and somebody is in HR to be a woman. And that's what it looks like. And those people that are of this, they have a different voice, they have a different thought process. They do something totally different that can absolutely change an entire business, but they just feel like they have to conform. And so when I talk about with my clients, I end up talking about what we call like the fishbowl effect, where they get pinged in and you have a glass ceiling, but it's not even just like a glass ceiling. It's like a glass wall and a glass wall and a glass wall. And you realize that you actually are just completely stuck. And it's why people go to work every day and they feel like they're dying a little bit, like bit by bit, selling their soul for a paycheck, every 2 weeks or so. And that's when, when I took that change and let me tell you, I had to learn some painful things, which is you got to be able to take the heat when it doesn't work out, and you better make a good call. So you make sure if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right, and make sure you investigate it. But that's actually how I became, I've hired 10,343 people. The only way I could have done that is actually by doing some of the craziest things that, this is why Amazon brought me on board, to do some of the craziest things that have happened inside of recruiting, because I needed to find a way to do things fast and quickly and at scale. And my dog is he wants to join.
Right. He wants to join in, just put him on up in the camera.
Yeah,
it's like, let me in, let me see that action.
Totally like, please let me come up here. So here he is, and he just wants to come in.
Welcome to the show.
He's like, this is my first time on television.
Very cool. So, I mean, I can totally resonate with that because, I used to hire people I hired people like you and then hired employees inside of a large organization. But I know, and at that moment, a bit like you, where I got to a point where, you know what, this is just not doing it for me anymore. I feel like every day a part of me is dying. I'm indoctrinated into this corporate organization, into almost institutionalized, and just thought, I don't want to do this anymore, man. I want to get out of here. I need to get out. I don't want to. In fact, the straw that broke the camel's back was when the company was going, and this is going to be happening a lot now around the world, but going into this phase of we have to downsize. So we have to start stripping our employees, which meant that I had to be having performance management conversations, which are supposed to uplift people, but performance management conversations that would actually lead to people having to exit the organization through them losing their jobs. And that was the moment that I thought, you know what, this just doesn't do it for me anymore. I need to get out and do my own thing.
Yeah, so I always talk about how performance management is literally just a CYA measure to make sure that we don't get sued by you on the way out. And that it's very rarely like, do we want to help you improve your performance? It's meant to be punitive. And a lot of times people get, they might be going along and suddenly like they're on a performance plan when everything was exactly the same, because the nature of employment can vary. So this is where I want to say, like, the one thought is that even if you are an individual person, you are a business. You have to be a business, and you're in the business of you. And that business is the foremost important thing that you can do. Yes, it's more important than anything else that you can do because it's how you take care of yourself. It's how you take care of your family. It's how you give back to your community. It's everything. So you have to put this business first. And so when you think about what you're doing in your career, I want you to remember like your business, if you had an opportunity to go and bid on 2 different projects and one was 500,000, one was 700,000, which one would you take, assuming everything else is the same? You would take the higher amount. So you have to think of yourself more objectively than like, oh, I'm going to settle for this, or, oh, I'm going to just do this, or I'll just get by, or I've spent so much time in this organization, so I should just be loyal to them. And I want you to know that as soon as it doesn't serve the business that you're in, to employ you, they will walk you out the door. So they're going to preserve themselves. And I need you to think about that same way when you're talking about your career, because you're going to be a business. So you have to operate like a business owner and make decisions that are tactically and strategically of value in order for you to kind of move forward in your career.
Which is a really interesting way to look at it, because most, in the employee world, don't look at it like that. No. But we want to, we're in a world now where we have to start positioning ourselves, start, really increasing our level of skill and knowledge, so that should that employment pool shrink so much that we're shrunk out of it, we've outgrown it, and there is nothing there for us anymore, that we actually have the skills, the resources, the knowledge, and the brand of you to create your own thing.
Oh my gosh, you literally said exactly what I am teaching people, which is how do we create opportunities when there appears to be none, which is like right now we're experiencing more job offers for jobs that weren't published. And on average, a client right now that's working with me during the pandemic is earning $52,000 in additional salary, not just like a $52,000, like a $52,000. In fact, we've had 3 job offers that have been over $100,000 increases for them. What's different between that person and the average person who's going out and job searching? Here's the difference. They know what they're selling. They know what they're selling and they know how to articulate it. And they have a skill set that they understand is marketable. People have tons of skills. So like whoever's listening to right now, I want you to know that you have something that is uniquely you. You have some gift inside of you, some sort of skills, knowledge, experience combined with who you are as a person that can fundamentally transform a company or a business. Okay, whether it's your own or inside of a business. You have something inside of you. You just need to understand what it is and how it's marketable. And how you really do that, I'm gonna give you the answer, is you demonstrate through impact. Meaning you can tell me you're, a transformational leader, or you can tell me I led top line revenue increase of $2 million in fiscal 2020, and we were able to achieve it in a 13% reduction in project time. That would be an example of how you demonstrate what it is you do that's value added, because you're going to do 2 things inside of a company. You're either going to make money or you're going to save money. If you don't do either of those 2 things, you are on the first of the chopping block. So if you can't tell what those 2 things are, then don't bother, because it's not worth it, because nobody is going to want to hire you unless you can make an impact for what they're trying to do, which is survive in today's economy. You have that skill set. So whether or not you know it or not, it takes some time, and maybe working with someone like me, but to get under that and to find what you really need to provide as value. And it's tough. Most people do not think it like this. In fact, most executives say their personal brand is what is the most efficient in their entire skill set. And there's a reason why certain executives get picked up and headhunted by people like me. And there's a reason why others don't. And it just comes down to one thing, and it's your personal brand.
So let's talk about that, because there is an absolute correlation. Like it is no different in the entrepreneurial world, right? I mean, it is about your personal brand. And I mean, we're going to touch on this a lot more next week, where you talked about marginal voices. And I've been doing this series about how to become the expert in your field, how to step out from the shadows, how to get yourself out of that, that glass box that we create for ourselves, and actually be somebody who is heard, seen, known, liked, trusted, that then becomes the authority and an influencer in your space. So it is no different, even if, and this is the common misconception that I think people have, is that I'm in a job, so therefore that doesn't apply to me.
You're preaching. You are, yes, that's exactly it. I feel like people don't understand that you are, like, that's why I'm like, you are a business owner. You just didn't know it up until this point. And so for a long time, we're going into a world where it's 50% of the jobs are going to be contract or gig based. We're going into a gig based economy. We were going into it, full speed before. We are certainly moving into that now. And we're also entering the world of artificial intelligence, which means that your ability to type 50 words per minute means jack diddly now. So what is it that you do that's a strategic advantage? Because if you say, Hey, I can file reports. Well, so can a machine. I can call people back. Well, so can a machine. So what I'm saying is you have to do something that cannot replace you, which is that you are human. So what is it that you use? Well, machines will always be machines and humans will be humans. And so that's going to be the differentiator factor of how you actually compete like in the next decade. This is not like, this is more a little higher level kind of thought process, but you have to understand that skills, the information age now has rapidly produced. I mean, we're seeing incredible expansion of information and learning opportunities, education, self-education, not just traditional education, which I'm not a big fan of traditional education, much as it says, required education on a job description. I'm a really big fan of this because right now, this is how you equip yourself to be prepared for this kind of new economy. And unfortunately, it's going to be learned the hard way by a lot of people. They're going to have to suffer through a lot of different things until they understand how to do this. And this is when the difference, you can see something as a really big challenge, or you can see it as an opportunity. So in the midst of great challenge is a great opportunity, but only for those that seek it out. And this is why there's some businesses, they might even be on the same industry and 2 blocks apart, and one's thriving and one's filing bankruptcy. So what's the difference? You have to figure out, you need to be the person who's able to see and innovate in the current marketplace.
Absolutely. I echo these sentiments too, because it is, you're dead right. I mean, it is all about the way in which we look at things. You can be a half glass empty or a half glass full type person. And in this economy, you have to be, we've got to be looking at things from the half glass full. How else can I improve? How do I make that glass bigger? How do I fill it up more? Like, we've totally got to go down that.
I love that.
We've got to go down that path instead of, things are not working for me. It doesn't, because you end up in that downward spiral. So with this, because it's so relevant right now, like, we're super passionate about this, right? Because we're in an unprecedented, and I've kind of got a bit sick of that word, but it's true. We're in an unprecedented times where things are changing at pace. And in the past, where we've had unprecedented times, yes, we've had COVID type situations with Spanish flu and what have you in the past, but we did not have the level of technology that we have now, which you speak about, that is actually replacing jobs at a rapid pace and is going to continue to do so. So it's about us remaining relevant and understanding, like, help people understand. Like, you talked about the gig economy. So can you elaborate on what you mean by the gig economy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you an example. In my business, every single person I hire on is contract. And why that allows me is, one, contracts, and I'm talking about, I'm going to talk specifically about the United States. It allows me to expand and contract as quickly as I need it, so I can onboard and offboard people as much as I need. And it allows me to meet and fluctuate with demand, which is the principle of Lean or Six Sigma. And so this is how businesses have done, instead of having, like, they're going to learn, hey, you don't need to have a whole office building because everybody can work from home. We save the environment, save your time. You get more work out of productivity and from people at home, actually, that's proven. And you're going to learn all these different things. So all of these things that have been traditional in a workplace, everything is on the table to be reinvented and changed. And so the gig economy is where we're seeing a lot of these things. And you're right, the biggest change is that we have the information age with the technology and the advancement that we have. It means that we are moving faster than ever. And the companies that are in that, and I'm going to say this, companies or employees, because as an employee, again, you're still in the business of you. Those that are in the maturity or decline phase, they either have to go into growth or they're going to die. That's the choice here. So you either going to grow, like, literally people say, like, I'm either growing or dying. You have to make that decision today. Are you going to remain competitive, or you can be like an ostrich and stick your head in the sand? It's probably not going to work out for you. Still going to get run over by something. But if you're preparing yourself, and that's why, like, it's important to do this. And you can use this gig economy actually to your advantage to get a secondary skill set that you can leverage into your other jobs then in the future. So that's the power of it, is just by getting started. And all it takes is the time and investment of your energy and the willing to believe it's worth it.
And I think the other exciting thing, like, these times are, as much as they're, challenging, they also bring a level of excitement with it too, because you're talking about, Vicky Helmer's even saying, project-based work, and that's what you're talking about with this gig economy. It opens up so that no longer are you restricted to finding employees in your local area, all of a sudden the entire world has been opened up to you as far as, what talent where can you attract your talent from? And people are prepared to do all sorts of different things. And people working from home, well, again, for them, it's created this whole new world for them as far as like work-life balance is concerned, but also the ability for them to be able to work with anybody, anywhere.
It's exactly. I mean, this is you and I connecting right now is the perfect combination of showing how you can do your remote. I'm at home. I'm in the United States. You're in Australia. So we have. I mean, it's amazing to see that just this, like, we can combine together to be talking, even though we're on 2 different days, which is incredible.
Yeah,
when you think about it, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I was like, how's tomorrow looking?
Yeah. I could always tell you it's always bright.
I love that. I love that.
I mean, the other thing is next week, we'll talk more about this, but so today we're sort of talking a lot about the individual, the employee. Next week, when I've got Lindsay back on the show, we actually want to go a bit deeper, and we're going to talk about how, the type, who you employ, talking about marginalized voices, et cetera, and how you as a entrepreneur, how you play into that. Like, how can we make a difference in this world through our recruitment processes, through our talent attraction, through our HR policies, etc. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. That is just a little, opening of doors for next week.
Open loop. And
open
also
loop.
Just that, but how because I think it's really nice to say, well, I do these things. How, instead of going away from, like, I'm to truly put your intention behind it, but that it also, here's the thing, is it will pay you back. Like, I wrote an entire press release about how the Black Lives Matter movement might just save our economy. And we're going to talk about that next week. Yeah.
I'm really interested and intrigued to talk about that because we will, like, given that we're in 2 different countries too, I'm really interested because here in Australia and where I'm originally from, which is in New Zealand, that whole movement, we don't see that as what's the word? It's like almost as big as you guys do in America. So I'm really interested in having that conversation and just, I suppose, giving a different perspective and some of the things that happen in both Australia and New Zealand and how we go about ensuring that, marginalized voices are heard, are loved, and we're actually treating people as human beings.
I know it seems simple, and yet it's still something we're still fighting. So I'm super excited to talk to you about it. And I think the power in it is in the ability to see that it's not just good to do, it's good for you.
Yes. So let's just come back. I want to ask, I noticed that you had an ebook and it talked about like some of the mistakes or some of the things that you shouldn't do when you're putting yourself out there as an employee and how you can. So I want to give some people some tips on how they can best position themselves to be headhunted or line themselves up to be the next person in line for the promotion and the dream job that they're looking for. And then secondly, part of that question is, how do they know what their dream job is?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
2 parts, please.
Yeah. So let me, I'm going to go to this part 2 first, if that's okay. So finding the dream job, I'm going to say for the people who are listening and they're like, yes, I have aspired to have my dream job. I didn't just go like, okay, I'm going to take a job and this is where I'm going to go in my 8 hours. I'm going to get my paycheck. And then my real life is going to be on the weekends and after work. Like, this is for the people who want to go to work every day and be motivated and excited. So if you're in that bracket, then you'll hopefully hear me out here, what happens. So one of the things that's in trying to find your dream job, this is a very extensive process. Let me just be very clear. So when you are trying to identify where you want to go next in your career, the first thing is you have to do that first step, which is identify where do you want to go. And I know that sounds absolutely simple, but pretty much, and maybe you can resonate with this, the question like, what do I want to be when I grow up? That plagues every single person. Like, it's probably why every entrepreneur is in business. It's probably why people continue to, they change careers. They just move up in their family and move them someplace. So like they do this because they want to seek out a new change in their life. So you have to decide where you're going. So it doesn't matter if you have the exact job. In fact, I'm going to challenge you to say that probably the job that you're talking about, the one that you truly want, the one that's going to fill your soul, it may not even exist yet. And what I mean is that you can actually market your skills so that you show how you're a solution, that when you put the value in to what your salary is, that value they give to you as an investment, you return back tenfold because of the amount of progress that you make inside of a company. So instead of just a time for money transition, we talk about value for investment. So like I'm going to give you this value for this investment, and it's going to give you an ROI. That's how you change this. That's the dynamic of the idea of the business owner of a business of you. So in finding your dream job, the best way to start, I'm going to start with that one. The best way to start is I want you to go through and I want you to I want you to write down every single thing that you do in your job. Everything you do, and you can use your job description, but it's usually not going to be close enough. Everything you do. And then I want you to cross off everything you hate. Okay. Those things, they are no longer part of the equation. So now I'm going to say email management, you're probably gonna need an assistant if that's the one thing you're going to have to come. So you have to realize like that with some of these things, there's going to still be an administrative, but you're going to need to choose what you want. So if you don't, for example, I'm really good at compliance, but I hate it. So would I put that on there? No, I'm not going to market something I don't want to do. Okay. So that's the first thing, is eliminate what you don't want. Okay. And then that list of what's left, I want you to focus on what it is you love of those things. What do you love? And there's only going to be like 5 or 6 things. And then I want you to ask yourself this one question, which is, what would I love to learn and use every day? Like, what is the things that I'm wanting to learn that I could use professionally every day? And then that's where you're going to do it. It means you're willing to try it. You may not be good at it, but that's going to be part of it. And that will create a rounded picture of you of what kind of job would that be with that skill set that you have. Now, it's going to be nebulous because clarity only comes through action and taking action towards what it is you're looking for. So when you look at that, you have to say, okay, this is my dream job. Now I'm going to go back, part 1. How do I make sure that this resume is what it needs to be for this? That's what you have to think of, is how do I become the thing that solves this problem, and how do I market it? And this is where it can get a little bit challenging. So your resume is going to be important, but I'm going to tell you the most important thing is going to be your LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn, where they make all their money is when they charge me to have a seat, which is called a recruiter seat on LinkedIn, so I can go and find you. So I reverse engineered that entire process in order to show people how they can become the candidate of choice by using the same systems that we would use to go find you, and how you can be found. And so you need to understand a couple of things, which is one, white space is really important on a resume. Less is more, meaning don't overwhelm with content. 2 pages is enough. Make sure you're demonstrating your impact and not telling them. And you want to be really clear about results-based. Results-based meaning when somebody talks about like, I filed a report, filing a report is tactical. Remember, a machine can do that. So we don't want to do that. So tell me about how you created a report that created maybe you're the person who created the machine learning technology behind it, or created an automation that happened. So it can automatically deliver and create an immediate proposal of whatever it is that needs to be changed based on how the report went out. Either way, that's how you can turn something that's tactical into a strategic advantage. So that instead of, because guess what, humans, most fallible part of our business. Machines are way more reliable. They don't ever need a break. And so the best thing you can do is automate as much as you possibly can and get out of the way for them. And then let us work on the strategic and the higher level thinking at this point.
Fantastic. So if somebody wanted to work with you or wanted, some more help with this, Lindsay, because that would be the most appropriate question now, because I think many people are going to be going, well, I want my dream job, and I'm just not 100% sure how I put all of that together and how I kind of distill this down to exactly what I want to do. How can they get in contact with you and work with you?
Yeah, so the best way to go, and you can get my book, my best-selling ebook on Amazon, totally free. You just go to lindsaymustain.com.
Beautiful. Well, we'll make sure that we put that into the comments in the show notes, so that if you want a copy of that, go on over to lindsaymustain.com and get yourself a copy so that you can follow the instructions that Lindsay gives you. And not to mention, I mean, you touched on this, LinkedIn, like, I'm going to have to say that, since I've been out of the corporate world, my LinkedIn profile is just getting a little bit of a spruce up now. But, clearly, if you're in the market for looking for a job or accelerating your career, you've got to get on LinkedIn and get yourself sorted out in there. And of course, absolutely. Lindsay would be able to help you with that.
Absolutely. And also, I'm going to just say a plug. Entrepreneurs, you are not alone here. There's so many. LinkedIn is said to be the most, the best place to actually look for business to business revenue out of any social media platform. So if you're not on there, you're like walking away from money on the table.
Yeah, we need to get ourselves sorted and get on in there, which we've started doing because we've realized that is the case. You know, you can see our shows on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, so on and so forth. And this is also a podcast, by the way. So for those of you that prefer to listen rather than watch, you can also go to tracyandwilson.com and download the podcast version, or to metadimedigitalco.com and also get the podcast version and the show notes and everything else that goes with on that website too. But look, Lindsay, I want to, before we wrap up, I just want to make sure that I give you an opportunity to kind of cover off anything else that you wanted to talk about in today's show, because next week we've kind of got a pretty cool lineup of conversation to have next week and some cool topics that we're going to talk about. But is there anything that you want to kind of cover off today so that it makes next week make a lot more sense?
Yeah, I would say that we're going to transition into really like how as a business or any kind of employee that has any hiring decisions or influence inside of a company, how that can change. But the one thing I want to plant the seed for now is that you either are going to be in front of the change or behind the change, and you get to choose which way you are. Now, we are in the midst of great change. It doesn't mean you're always going to bat 1,000. You're never going to show up every time and get it right. But you need to do something to stay current because we're changing so rapidly. So I don't want you to think that because I haven't started, or because I feel like I'm behind, or because I don't have 15 years of LinkedIn experience, that I shouldn't worry about it. It's going to sweep past you so fast that you won't be able to catch up. So I'm giving you the chance now to start thinking about what is it I want for my future, because you get to choose. You get to deliberately choose where you want to go. You just have to make the decision to do it, and don't let it just pass you by, because guess what? 2 years are going to go by. You're still going to be 2 years older. Whether or not you have the right preparation and tools to compete in the economy, that's your decision today.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, guys. Well said, Lindsay. And it is absolutely in alignment with living your life unlocked. Like, do the things that you want to do now. Live your dream job, create the business that you want to create, and go and live your life, because, you only have this once. And it's, as Lindsay's just pointed out, 2 years, you'll blink and it goes past. And all of a sudden, the way that technology is moving, we will get left behind. So this whole channel, so the Metadime Digital channel, along with the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life group in Facebook, that is what we are all about, is equipping you with the skills, the knowledge, but not only that, giving you the tools so that you can transform. That's where, we're moving from the information age. People need to be transforming. We need to be doing that, and you need to start today. So if you haven't already done that, take Lindsay's advice and start making your moves and start doing them now. Literally, as soon as you get off of this, today. And maybe one of the actions you can do, the first thing you can do is go to your LinkedIn page and have a look at it and see what story it tells. Look at it from the point of view of, if you were a recruiter or you were somebody who was, employing you for a job, what would they be seeing, and what would they be, what would they take away from that? What would their perception of you be? And if it's not in alignment with what it is that you want to do, if it's not telling your story in a way that you want it to be told, then that's going to tell you that you need to do something about it.
So good. So good.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap this up because I need to save some of Lindsay for next week. I'm super excited about next week because we've had a conversation about what the show topic is going to be, and it is going to be a goodie. So I want to make sure that you guys tune in next week, exactly the same time. So 10 a.m. Brisbane time and 12 p.m. New Zealand time. I'm sorry, I'm in this neck of the woods, and in America, you have so many time zones, I just cannot keep up. So I'm going to give you those two, and you guys are all intelligent enough to figure out what time it is. Just join at this time. And also on Friday, don't forget, I've got the bonus series as part of the Authentic Brand Effect. So I'll be up to bonus session number 5. Tune in, because I'm going to be talking to you about how you can create all of your social media content for all of the different platforms, LinkedIn included, from one anchor platform. So I'm going to make sure that I cover that off with you. That's going to be happening on the Unlocked Show this Friday, 10 a.m. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I've seen there's a massive number of comments coming up down the right-hand side of my screen right now. I know I haven't got to all of you guys, but I'm looking at them, and I'll make sure that Lindsay gets to them and she answers any questions that you have. So thanks for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you guys back on another episode of Unlocked with myself, Tracy Wilson, next week, and we'll be back with Lindsay Mustain next Wednesday.
Thank you for
See you guys.
having me.
Thanks, Lindsay. Bye.